Now, youth unemployment has been identified as one of perhaps the most important threats to our social, political, and economic development as a country. Now, statistics would indicate that even though as a country we are very youthful, this percentage of people also happens to be the most unemployed, population in Ghana. We are discussing youth entrepreneurship. Now, I have two experts with me in the studio to look at this topic, perhaps what is, what can be done about the situation. Now, my guests in the studio with me this evening are Mr. Emmanuel Awumi. Now, Mr. Awumi happens to be the CEO of Cecil Consult Limited and an advocate for graduates working in the informal sector. Also with us in the studio today is Mr. Richard E. Obin. Now, he happens to be the Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the National Youth Authority. So you realize that, it's a full house. Now, gentlemen, welcome to the studio. Welcome to the studio. Thank you for making time to be with us on a Wednesday evening. Straight up, when we say youth entrepreneurship, generally, broadly, what are we looking at? What are we talking about?
Yes, entrepreneurship. Now we're talking about the youth being educated, and once you are educated, what next? You need to find something to do. But then the form of orientation we are having through our educational system makes us believe that once we are out of school, we just need a certificate and we should be employed. But then there should be the situation where we should be able to get ourselves employed. Now, to get yourself employed will require innovation and creativity. But the question is, are we being oriented through our educational system to be creative, to be innovative enough such that we can look at a scenario, look into our society, identify problems, and then find solutions to them? Now, if I'm able to identify a problem in my society, in my community, and I find solution to it, someone will be ready to pay for me finding solution to that problem. By so doing, I'm already in business. But then, do we have this thing happening among the youth? All right. But then our education teaches us that once we are out of school, we are good to go with a certificate.
Yeah.
And once we have the certificate, we have an entitlement mentality that we need to be employed. This is where we are getting it wrong. That we need to be employed and we need to be paid because we have a certificate. And so we fail to want to be innovative enough by looking out for challenges and problems in our society and community, finding solutions to them. And so what do? We rather go sit down waiting to get into the formal sector to be employed. And also the form of orientation we have makes us believe that it is only the formal sector that we might get employed and then feel good in society.
When you talk to young people, he wants to come out, if it's a university, if it's a polytechnic, wherever, he wants to come out, find a job, buy a house, buy a car. I mean, society will come later, isn't it? Is this where we are getting it wrong?
Yes. And this is exactly where I'm talking about the orientation bit. Why should the youth go through school, come out, and just think that he needs to be employed by someone?
That's what I mean about the entitled mentality.
Entitlement mentality. Now, what is work? Whatever idea you are able to generate, whatever problem you are able to identify in society, in the community, as my boss was saying, and you find a solution to it, and you are paid for it, aren't you working?
Yes, you are.
Good. But then our form of definition of work means, in our society, means that I should be sitting behind a desk in a tie, in a suit. Then I'm called a worker.
Yeah.
So once I don't find myself in an office, seated in my suit under an air condition, our society doesn't see it that you are working. That is where we're getting it wrong. And that is where I'm talking about the orientation bit. In school, this is how they are orienting us. So we've come out as a society believing that this is the only way, that when you go into such an industry, then you are considered a worker in the Ghanaian society. And so we leave the informal sector thinking that it is meant for school dropouts or those who are not, well-to-do in terms of academic. They belong to that sector, and that is where it is. I say it is wrong. For instance, I have gotten my academics through the university, but I went into the informal sector. A job like car wash, do we respect it in our society?
No.
Exactly. So you will say that it is no work. But I have been in this industry for 17 good years.
Oh, wow.
I have about 45 workers that I'm managing. And the standard of work that I'm doing, when you go to my website and look at it, you realize that it has gone through a lot of value addition processes that has met international standards. Okay, so I've been able to identify a problem in my society, that car wash, which is an international business that has a lot of value, which is not respected in our society, I have added value to it, such that a graduate can comfortably walk into my business area to work without having that stigma that society has towards graduate working in the informal sector. So we have a societal problem of stigmatization, which no graduate wants to have. So a graduate will prefer to sit at home rather than being stigmatized working in the informal sector. And so in the out of statistics, for instance, we have 91.8% of our total employment labor force working in the private sector. We only have 8.2% working within the public sector. Now, how come should a graduate come out of school expecting that they can all find themselves into the public sector, which has 8.2%? Even if the government create job opportunities, how many graduates can be employed? Now we have about almost 200,000 graduates being churned out every year, adding to the backlog of graduates that are waiting to get into the public sector. How can that be possible? The 91.8% is giving us indication that there are enormous job opportunities within the informal sector, but it's informal because it's not well structured. Who should structure it? It should take the graduate who has been educated to know how to manage and structure things, to venture in there, apply his knowledge, add value to jobs over there, and we are good to go. So for instance, we have Unemployed Graduate Association, and I have been saying that once you've been able to form that association, you are a business person already. Because you've been creative enough to know that putting one or two things and people together, you can form an association. It is business. Now, I, as an entrepreneur, would rather name it Employable Graduates Association, targeted towards the informal sector. Why do I say so? The entrepreneur in the informal sector is much of an operational manager. He creates the idea and just focus in how to drive that idea to become a reality. Now, business constitutes of several tools. You need management, administration, you need accounting department, you need marketing, you need branding, you need all the sectors to come together to make the business thrive. Now, if you, the graduate, who have been trained through all this, why can't you package yourself and then go to the entrepreneur within the informal sector, go manage this aspect of his business for him? And so this association can then become like an incubator where graduates train themselves and then they market themselves to the entrepreneurs, go to manage their administrative bit for them.
Every young person coming up with big dreams needs to start from somewhere, because you need to gather capital. So the truth, at least when I left the university, myself and my mates, the plan was to get into the formal sector, gather some money. I still have people who are still there gathering, gather some money, and then set up the businesses that we dreamed of, or the things that we wanted to do. Because how do you practically, realistically come out of the university and set up a business? These are the practical challenges on the floor. So if we had these big businesses and things like that, perhaps we could go there and gather the money. No?
Yes, I think that is one mistake we are making. We always want to start from the top to the down.
Really?
Instead of down to the top. And we sometimes also try to depend so much on government to support us. And that is one aspect too I feel we are getting wrong. Government can create the structures, the enabling environment, create the policies down for us. But it takes us, if only you want to be an entrepreneur, the first and foremost thing is your creative and innovative ability.
And your money. Capital.
Yeah, capital will come. But then, we always want it too quick, too soon. In entrepreneurship, there's nothing like too quick, too soon. It takes a journey. And it's a painful journey. And we must get to recognize that success does not come on a silver platter. Success comes through pain. And that is one thing the youth are not trying to recognize. And that is why we're going through what we're going through. We want to get it on a silver platter. Government should just create a job for us to go in there and work. Obviously, government cannot make you a creative thinker or an innovative thinker. You have to create. And then the environment is created for you to grow, to strive. Now, we are refusing to be innovative and creative. That's it.
How about we are being innovative and creative, but the environment is not enabling? How about that?
It's not enabling. But then there are some, and there are most. For instance, the statistics that I get, 91% people are work, and percent of the labor force is in the private sector. How are they doing it?
Struggling.
Of course, you need to struggle. You can't run away from it. If you run away from it, you will keep waiting as unemployment keep growing. We don't want to go through pain. That is our problem. We want to make money quick. That is our problem. It took me almost 17 years to come this far, and I haven't gotten anywhere yet. Striving within the same environment. I started business with no money. I have to do menial jobs to raise capital for 10 years before starting my business that has come this far. Because I had no financial backing support from anywhere. Then the question is, am I going to wait for government to come and give me money before I start? Any family member? Who from where? So I have to take my destiny into my own hands by getting any job that is reasonable to do. Using my creative abilities, creating jobs, meeting needs of people, and people paying me for it. And I gave myself 10 years to raise capital. How many youth want to go through that?
Not a lot.
Exactly. But then that is the way to go. So if government is not there for you, and for that reason you want to stay, to remain poor, you forever remain poor. You need to make the initiative. Keep moving until the opportunity comes that to boost you up. The realities are there, we don't want to face it. And that's our challenge, I believe.
Welcome back from the break, viewers. We have been talking youth entrepreneurship, and this evening, as always, I am getting educated. I'm always the first to support all the information. I hope at home you are also doing that. We need to educate ourselves on some of these topics before we sit back and complain all the time, like I'm doing, complaining. Okay, now let's talk about the things we can do. First of all, let's start with the youth. What can we do to get it right? And then I'll come back to you, Mr. and you tell me what government is doing to get it right. And then we can all, at least we can make some headway, with this discussion.
Yeah, what can be done to get it right? I believe if our educational system can be re-looked at, especially the vocational and technical education. Now, they are not well resourced, because now if your child decides to go to a vocational or technical school, this societal stigmatization of certain aspect of our lives and our education is causing us a lot. You wouldn't want your child to go to a vocational school. Why? Because she or he will be tagged not to be intelligent. You wouldn't want your child to go to a technical school. he or she will be tagged. And I wonder if government is even resourcing the vocational and technical institutions so well to make them very effective. The concentration is much to do with the secondary university education. That is why we will have to be converting even our technical institutions into university, technical university institutions. Why? Okay, we need the technical and vocational schools to strive. We need to get them developed, because the skills, like he was saying, much of the skills can be developed in these schools. And so government could even target some of these schools with their policies that they have. Okay, get them well educated, so once they are even out of school, they are knowledgeable about some of these provisions government have towards the unskilled labor force. So once they come, they will be able to take advantage of some of these things. If they are well skilled, well trained, and there is a lot of hype placed on this vocational and technical institution students, they come out being proud and being able to venture into the job market out there. Now you have a graduate who have done agric, desiring to want to sit in the office.
Yeah.
All right. You have a graduate coming out from an engineering institution, desiring to want to get into the office. Why do you think they're doing that? It's because of stigma. They don't want to belong to that stigmatized environment called the informal sector. I'm a graduate and I'm going to work in the farms. How will they? My parents will even tell me, school, I mean, you've gone through all this. After all that school, you are in the farm. You know, so something must be done to improve the standard and structures within the informal sector to make it attractive, so that we can break the societal stigma thing. That then can encourage a lot of people to want to get in there. You understand? So there's a lot to do with society, with education, with governance and all that, to be able to improve that sector. That can create a lot of job opportunities for the youth. Else, the youth are out there. Trust you me, there are a lot of people who have skill set tailored towards the informal sector, but will not want to get there because they'll be stigmatized. I went through it, and so I know what I'm talking about. The stigma is so strong. So there are some graduates, you realize their skill set, their desire and passion is skilled towards jobs in the informal sector, but to be stigmatized, he would rather stay at home to remain unemployed. You know, so these are some basic things we are ignoring, but it's killing us. We are always turning to policies by government, by this, but forgetting about that thing.
The role we play.
The role we play. You know, so I always come up to say that our society has been structured, designed and programmed to ensure that we remain poor. And it is keeping us remaining poor, because we all want to be in a formal sector. Meanwhile, there are opportunities in the informal sector. Can't we add value to them and improve them to create an enabling environment? For instance, our president was talking about creating decent jobs in the informal sector. What is he talking about? He's talking about decency, value addition, because that is what will attract people. Germany is doing that. They're placing a lot of value on informal sector, and it's creating jobs. You know, so if we can place value and structures in the informal sector, does not necessarily mean government should put up structures like physical structures. No. It's about regulating your business operations. You don't have bookkeeping. Now put bookkeeping in place. Let somebody manage the business for you, so that at least once things are well booked down, productivity will increase, income will increase. You'll be able to then open other branches or expand and employ a lot of people. Now we need people who are learned to help the informal sector people to well structure their business in terms of bookkeeping, management skills and all that. This is why I advocate that graduates, when you get in there and you help that person improve his business, trust me, you might be even well paid more than the job you might find in the formal sector. Let's ignore the societal stigma and transform our country by venturing into the informal sector.
It's very informal sector. That's great advice. That's great advice, Robin.